13th Hampton Township Council meeting. We'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Ms. Blackburn?
Present.
Ms. Fritsch?
Present.
Mr. Midgley?
Present.
Mr. Scholle?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Speakman?
Present.
All right, the first item on the agenda is citizens' agenda matters. So if anyone has anything that they would like to address to council at this time, please step up to the podium and state your name and address. All right, next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the Frey Cane preliminary PRD application 23-08. Can I get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Scholle?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor.
Please.
Nope. Go ahead.
If it please, I
Please.
apologize. Because this is a public hearing, I would ask that anyone who would be offering testimony with regard to this matter be sworn in by the reporter. Is there anyone? Amanda, just because you're going to provide the procedural status.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help God?
I do.
Yes, I do.
And just so council is aware, what the solicitor's office is recommending is that Amanda provide the procedural aspects of where we are to date, that Mr. Victor, who is here on behalf of the developer, provide the information that the developer would like to present. And I believe that we have an agreement with the developer that we will adjourn this or continue this public hearing until April the 10th, at which time there may be additional information provided by both the township, of course, the developer, and any members of the public after staff has had an opportunity to review the current status of this matter, to make certain recommendations to to Amanda, so that there can be specific questions in the event that council would have those. And so I'm asking, at least for this evening's consideration, that council consider holding their questions until we've had an opportunity to vet what is being presented this evening. We know that there are a couple of asks, and of course I believe Mr. Victor will provide those. So what I would suggest is that we start with Amanda, just to give us, council, procedurally where we are today.
Certainly. The application was submitted on December 1st of 2023 and referred by council on December 13th. In accordance with the zoning ordinance, the public hearing was opened on January 10th, which was within the required 60 days from submission. The public hearing was advertised on December 21st and December 28th. On December 21st, notices were sent to the adjoining property owners within 300 feet, and the property was posted. I will note that we have been updating the posting on the property as the hearing dates have been changing. Prior to the January 10th public hearing, we received an extension request from the applicant proposing that the public hearing be postponed to February 12th, which council approved. Prior to the February 12th public hearing, we received another extension request through April 10th this time. On March 5th, we received an email from the applicant accompanied by the most recent set of revised plans indicating that they wanted to go in front of the Planning Commission, EAC, and Council this week. The Planning Commission reviewed the application this past Monday and tabled, as did the EAC on Tuesday.
In anticipation of Mr. Victor making the presentation
Correct.
to council this evening, and then we can continue until the 10th of April without having to re-advertise and all the rest of that. So, Mr. Victor, without further ado.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Victor from Victor Wetzel Associates. And yes, we concur with everything that Mr. Tesseri has stated regarding the timing, and that tonight will be primarily just to provide you information.
And if I may, just add one additional caveat, and that is that I believe that the developer has also agreed, and I'd like to have it on the record, to the effect that the council will make their decision within 60 days of what we would anticipate the last public hearing, which would be April the 10th.
That is the MPC, and we totally agree with it. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Okay.
We concur. The PowerPoint, thank you. We're here to present to you some plan information regarding the 16 acres that we have identified as Pioneer Place. It is along South Pioneer Road. The area is sort of a triangular shaped piece of property as shown there on the drawing outlined in red. The aerial photograph gives you the opportunity to see that the northern and easterly portion of the site has just scattered woods and trees, and it's primarily in the southwesterly lower left corner that you have the highest concentration of existing trees. It's also within that area where there is a tributary and 3 wetlands that we'll be talking about further in a lot more detail. The site does have an existing house on the property, and that will be raised, and that there is a bridge that accesses that house in the this would be the lower right-hand corner, be the southeasterly corner, and that bridge is rated for 50 tons for that bridge, so it can carry almost all vehicles over that bridge. That bridge and driveway is shared with our neighbor to the south. So today, 2 single-family houses share that bridge. Next slide. The property is an assemblage of the Fry property, which is the northerly 12 acres, and the southerly portion is the Kane property, which was previously divided into 2 lots, approximately 5 acres. The Fry portion was previously subdivided into 14 single-family lots. Those lots no longer meet the ordinance requirements for minimum lot sizes, and so rather than proceeding with this subdivision, the developer has chosen to proceed down the path of a planned residential development to bring something into compliance with today's ordinances. Next slide. This plan just identifies the proposed plan. The white area represents where we will have the lots on the property, and the yellow-green area would represent the area of open space on the plan that would be owned by the homeowners association. Lot number 1 is at the bottom of the sheet, and that will be 1 single-family house. It'll be a new house, and that house will utilize the existing 50-ton bridge for its access. Lots 2 through 12 are prepared and sized for duplexes, so those would be duplexes on those, so there'd be a total accumulation of 23 dwelling units, 1 single and 22 double units on the proposed plan. The calculations for allowable density shows that the site can support the 23 dwelling units. Next slide. I know it's sort of difficult to read, at this scale what you're looking at, but this is the grading plan, and it shows that it's along the South Pioneer frontage where the duplex lots would be located, is where the majority of the grading would occur, and there is a hillside there, so we're primarily cutting the dirt, and it's behind basically lots 9 to 12, that dirt would be repositioned back onto the site. You can see the grading contours for that, basically creating at the top of that plateau an open space play area on there. In the bottom right-hand side of the sheet, it shows the area for storm water management. It's primarily a infiltration system, so we capture the water along the development and pipe that to the detention facility, and then from there it's discharged into the tributary to Kraus Run. Kraus Run is on the far right-hand side of it, and it is a designated FEMA floodplain, and we've identified the 100-year floodplain, and there will be no construction or activity within the 100-year floodplain. Next slide. Again, sort of difficult to read at this scale, but basically what this is showing is that for the utilities, we would be grabbing the existing sanitary sewer in the lower right-hand corner and then extending it along the frontage of the lots along South Pioneer Road. As part of the discussion with the engineers, PVE, there currently is a drainage swale at the rear of lots 4 to 12, and we're going to be, in the next response that we'll be giving, we'll be replacing that swale with a pipe and a series of inlets at every one of the lot corners. We feel that that's a better way to do than to try to create a large swale within that area. One of the other discussions has revolved around the type of paving and the paving standard on South Pioneer Road. Currently, it is a non-curbed roadway, and so the water just sheet flows off. On our side of the road, there is a swale that is capturing and carrying that water. When you go in and introduce the houses within that area, you're also introducing driveways, and so we'll be interrupting that swale with driveways. It sounds like an easy solution. You just put a pipe underneath the driveway, but the area is relatively flat. There is a long-term possibility that those culverts would fill in the piping, and it has been suggested by the township staff that maybe it would be preferable to install a curb along South Pioneer Road and added additional inlets along that area. The developer is agreeable to that if you feel that that is the appropriate solution. Professionally, I would highly recommend that because I'm concerned about the long-term maintenance and responsibilities to the homeowners to maintain the culvert that goes underneath the individual driveways. Next plan. As part of the submittal requirements, we did identify the existing trees. You can see what I said at the very beginning about the aerial photograph. The large mass of trees occurs on the Kane property. You can see where all the green and red circles are. That's where the trees were primarily. And you'll just see a few scattered trees on the Fry property where it had been previously logged. Next slide. Utilizing that tree survey, we're able to specifically identify those trees that would be removed. And again, it's primarily the eastern half of the Kane property where the majority of those would be occurring. The westerly side of the Kane property, you can see those are not being impacted by the development. Next slide. The landscaping plan here shows how we can meet the mitigation requirements at the top of the sheet there. And I must admit it's hard for me to read from this point. So, but I think there was something like 342 trees that will need to be mitigated and replanted to meet the mitigation requirements for the trees that have come down. And this shows how we will be planting 342 trees, a mixture of deciduous, evergreen, and understory type trees, consistent with your code requirement. The plan does show and identify each of the tree species that we're proposing. They're all native type species plants that we would be showing on here. If you have specific questions because of the smallness and detail of it, I would recommend you just look at the plan itself, where there is a plant list. Next slide. At This is at the top of the northerly end of our site. One of the new things that occurs in any land development, new being in the last several years, is what we call the CBU, or cluster box unit, how the U.S. Post Office delivers mail. And so we have to identify a safe place for that to occur. So we've identified sort of a governor's driveway to loop off of South Pioneer. And that governor's driveway is also connected to the sidewalks that would run in front of all the houses. So homeowners have the opportunity to go to their homes, walk up to the mailbox, and then return, or use the governor's driveway. As a suggestion coming out of the Planning Commission, because there is no on-street parking for South Pioneer, it was recommended that we add some parking spaces. So the governor's driveway was expanded, and there are 6 parking spaces shown there. It's anticipated that those are really primarily there for visitor parking, if you would, not for the CBU activity, but somebody could stop in those. But I think it was a good suggestion, and we're happy that we can facilitate that. Next slide. The next series of slides go through the one and only modification that we are requesting for this, and it has to deal with the township's requirements for a buffer yard. What we're looking at is the southwesterly corner, or lower left-hand corner of the site, primarily on the Kane property. Along the tributary to Kraus Run that runs through that area, Palustris Environmental identified 3 wetlands. Wetland number 1 is sort of that rectangular shaped in the right. The number 2 looks like some sort of amoeboid or something with a tail on it, but that's just wetlands along a drainage way there. And then wetland 3 is the multi-shaped piece at the far end of it there. Next slide. You have 2 conflicting ordinances as to what the setback should be from your wetlands. Your zoning ordinance states that there shall be a 100-foot setback from the edge of the wetlands for buffering that wetland. We've highlighted in the blue color there the area of the 100-foot setback. Just to give you a sense of scale or proportion, the wetlands themselves are under a half acre, but the buffer area, excluding the area of the wetlands, is 3.5 acres, 7 times larger. So it's a significant area of buffer around it. Our stormwater detention facility is on the upper right edge of the blue area, and so we are impacting that, and so we're asking for a modification to be situated within that. Next slide. You also have an ordinance in your stormwater provisions that says the wetland setback should not be 100 feet, but should be 25 feet. Our encroachment into that area for the storm detention facility is 35 feet away from the closest wetland. So if this ordinance was applied, we wouldn't be asking you for a modification. It's because you have the zoning. Next slide. Just to give you another sense of perspective, the DEP requirement for buffers from wetlands is 0. There are no buffer requirements. So based on the DEP requirements, our 35-foot of separation from the wetlands meets all of the criteria for the DEP. Next slide. And just sort of summarizing that, looking at all 3 slides at the bottom, that's the DEP standard, no buffers. The middle is your stormwater ordinance with its 25-foot of buffers, and the top is your zoning ordinance with its 100-foot. Next slide. So again, just to highlight for you the area of encroachment that we are doing. It's the yellow-green area. When we construct the breastwork for the detention basin, that's where it's going to be located. And so that's what we would like the modification for, to be able to have that encroachment. Next slide. No way I can read that, but I'll go open up my own copy if I could. And read this into the record. Illustrious Environmental commented on the, and that's our environmental consultant, and they were the ones who also did the habitat study for the EAC's request for it. And Palustris states that the developers proposed a disturbance within 100 feet of the wetlands located within the Habitat Area 3 for the construction of a storm detention basin. However, while there is a disturbance with the 100-foot buffer, the disturbance is temporary, and the wetland will be protected by a robust erosion and sedimentation control plan, similar to the anti-degradation best available practice combination of technologies used when by projects and special protection watersheds. Post-construction, the basin, meaning after it's already built and it's operating, the basin will protect the wetland as it will decrease increased runoff from impervious surfaces, so it's not, that wetland is not washed out, and the basin acts as a natural buffer protecting the wetlands on site. Hydrologically, that the hydrology that fuels the wetlands on site will not be impacted, as the wetlands on site are groundwater driven. And since groundwater flows are not disturbed by the project, hydrology to the wetlands should not be altered. So basically what we've created is a detention facility that's primarily an infiltration area. So we're going to be pumping water back into the ground, and because of its proximity to the wetlands, it will then continue to feed those wetlands within that area. And again, the justification for the impact is that these disturbances are temporary, not too dissimilar to if we were constructing a sanitary sewer. Sanitary sewers typically follow the low-lying areas, so they are constantly running through streams and up through wetlands, and they're just a temporary. You dig the ditch, you put the pipe in, you close it back up, and most likely within a year or two, you never knew that the sewer was there. And the other justification for it is that the stormwater facilities complies with as far as setback, complies with your 25-foot stormwater ordinance setback and the 0 setback from the DEP. Next slide. So, brings us back to the tentative PRD plan. I know we talked about having no questions, but I'm here. I'm happy to answer. If not, we will see if there's any, although nobody said they were going to speak from the audience, but
So we'll certainly ask. Thanks, Mr. Victor. Is that your presentation?
It is.
Is there anyone from the audience that has any questions with regard to the plan? Hearing none, I am asking council to hold their questions because Mr. Victor has graciously agreed to return on the 10th of April, at which time, after staff has had an opportunity to review and evaluate these presentations, then you can ask some questions. Okay.
perfect.
Otherwise, I would ask council, Madam President, to continue to the 10th of April at the regular meeting time so that we don't have to re-advertise.
All right, can I get a motion to continue the public hearing for the Fray Kane preliminary PRD application 23-08 to the April 10th regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Shuley?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor. All right,
Thank you very much. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next month.
other business. All right, then we are going to adjourn the special meeting and move directly into our agenda meeting, and we will start with administration.
Yes, the first item on is the award of a proposal for pension-related legal services. We discussed this at our meetings in February. The proposals for this service are due March 21st. We expect to have a recommendation for council at our meeting on March 27th. The firm that GTN and I had referenced has already picked up a copy. They're the only ones at this point who picked up a copy of the RFP. They have indicated they intend to submit a proposal, so, yeah.
Just for council's benefit, we're receiving the same proposal from
Mhm.
the same law firm across the board of the folks that we're dealing with, so.
All right, any questions? Item B then, please.
Sure. This is a change order for the, this is the floodplain and fishing pier project that you're seeing going on at Wildwood Sample and Sample Road. It's been going on for the better part of 5 or 6 months at this point. The initial budget for the project back in 2023 was $600,000. When it was bid out, it was awarded to BJC Enterprises in the amount of $496,300. The project is partially funded by a grant from PADEP in the amount of $421,042. But so the change order before you tonight, it's in the amount of $21,500. It is the result of a recent excavation into the backwater channel on the property where they encountered poor soils and groundwater at higher elevations than expected. This led to some pooling of water on the site. PVE, who was the design engineer for the project, and BJC, the contractor, reviewed their options to mitigate this ponding and decided upon replacing the vegetated channel that was in the bid specifications with a stone line channel. The overall value of this change order is a 4.3% increase over the bid price of the contract, and it's still well under what the budget is. So my recommendation is obviously for the next meeting will be to approve the change order.
All right, I did have one question
Sure.
related to this. The change order that was in the document packet actually had a total of $30,250 with the 21.5 added kind of after the fact. So I'm wondering about the discrepancy there.
You know what? And I apologize that I missed that. I will get you an answer on that one.
I
in the
think
next
the answer is
administration.
the top part
Yeah.
is the credit that we get back from what we were not doing.
Yeah.
And then the bottom is the new charge, and then the differential would be the change order.
That would make sense. Thank you.
Spoken like someone who's dealt with change orders in the past. So
Right, but if you could verify that.
I will.
Right,
I will.
certainly.
I will verify.
Thank you, Alfie.
Sure, yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No.
All right, item C then, please.
Okay. This is a change of assessment, real estate. Basically, the taxable value of the Wildwood Golf Club property. So included with the email, or including with the agenda, were emails from Jeff Klein of the school district and Bailey Gilchrist of GTN Law. Yeah, I have his Hutchinson in the. Yeah, my mistake.
Yep.
Bailey Gilchrist of GTN Law. They give an in-depth explanation of this, so I'd credit them for the background. Just to give a brief summary, in 2018, the Wildwood Country Golf Club was assessed at $3.4 million. In 2022, they underwent numerous renovations, which resulted in Allegheny County filing a notice of change of assessment that raised the value of the taxable value of the property to $5.9 million. The club immediately appealed this. As with most communities in Western Pennsylvania, school districts take the lead on property tax assessment appeals because their millage rate is so much higher that it just makes sense. Through negotiations, the school district and the club agreed to settle on assessed values of just over $4.3 million for 2023 and just over $3.9 million for this tax year. The school district has approved this assessment appeal at their board meeting in February. The township will see, I mean, the point I would make is You are seeing an increase in the assessed value of the property of about $500,000 for this tax year, but we are going to have to refund probably about $5,000 in taxes from the previous tax year. So council will obviously take action at the next meeting if they concur with the assessment change. Jerry?
My only question is, the tax bills will be going out in May.
Mhm.
Do you know if the new assessed value will have been communicated to Jordan so that they send out a tax bill for the agreed upon,
I was intending on communicating it to
so
Jordan
that we don't have to
tomorrow
do
and then
another
subsequently after the action
Yeah.
on the 27th. So yes, I plan on communicating with them very quickly.
And Jordan is used to that because
Mhm.
we're going through all those processes as we
Yeah.
speak.
All right, any other questions on item C?
And Ryan, I think you said, so they did pay the, I think it's 2023?
Yes,
They've already paid
yeah,
that.
because
So that's
I
what-
talked to the school district
That's
about
what
that.
needs refunded
Yes.
if this goes, okay.
Yeah.
All right, next item, please.
This is usually something that's done in December or January. It's the approval of the professional service fees for the engineers or legal counsel. The one before you tonight is from KLH. They had some organizational changes. Actually, Rob Horvat, who will be at the next meeting, was promoted to vice president. So they've had some things going on internally. But KLH has served as the township sanitary engineer since the 1990s. The fees that you see before you represent roughly a 4% increase over 2023. But that resolution will be on your agenda at the next meeting for approval.
All right, you already answered my question. Does anyone have any questions? All right, public safety, which I'm assuming you'll handle since.
Yeah. That and Susan. I'll handle community services too. No Shave November. Chief Valakovich is requesting that members of the police department be present at the March 27th council meeting to present funds raised from No Shave November. They did 2 rounds of it, one through December and then subsequently after that. In December, they donated funds to the Mrs. Claus Club, which provides gift baskets and support for people recently diagnosed with cancer. The second presentation on March 27th will actually be to a child and their family at Central Elementary who was diagnosed with leukemia. So,
All right, any questions? Next item, please.
the social workers, Angela, Ashley, and their intern Marie, will be present at the next meeting to discuss their accomplishments in 2023. They've done this over the past several years.
Any questions? All right, community services then.
Yes. I can't wait until you start talking, Jim. I just,
Oh, I was going to ask Jim if you wanted to just let you handle
know
it.
what? We talked about this before, but I think he's actually going to handle the talking for his report. This is the construction equipment rental and tradesman program. This is a bid we do annually. It's also due on March 21st. We'll have a recommendation for you on the 27th.
All right, any questions? Item B then, please.
The 2024 capital improvement program includes an allotment of $125,000 for Phase 2 of the Community Park Trail. This is running conduit and installing lighting along the unlit portion of the trail that runs from sort of the end of the community center parking lot around the soccer complex and up toward behind the community center and then up toward the pavilion at the top of the hill. In my memo to council, I said that this would be bid as a base bid for the conduit with an alternate as a unit price for the lighting. That may change. In talking to Trans Associates, they are seeing pricing that actually may be favorable to bidding this as one package, which I'm shocked to hear, but that may change. I will get you a definitive on that one at the next council meeting, though. So.
Like I said last time, the North Hills COG is seeing favorable bids recently. I'm hoping this is a new trend. I did have one question about the trail, though. I've been walking on it recently, and I noticed that our heavy rains recently have carved some channels in various areas. Are we going to be addressing that?
The Public Works Department has purchased some limestone to get back out there. I do think that is something that as the trail sort of gets more compact will dissipate, but it's something we've heard that we've gotten that comment. from
Yeah, it primarily
multiple
seems to
reps.
be an issue on the new part of the trail, not the one that was put in a couple years ago.
Yes.
The same problem happened with
Yeah, I remember it.
the first one, so it finally did settle down.
The newness.
All right, does anyone else have any questions? All right, item C, please.
Okay, the 2024 general fund budget includes an allotment of $50,000 to employ contracted janitorial services for the community center. In the past, we've used part-time and temporary staff for this service. It's just become very problematic from a hiring perspective, a retention perspective, and there are some issues with just hours and quality and those things as well. The proposal before you tonight is 6 weeks service from JanPro. It's Monday through Saturday. For $3,350.50 a month. Begin April 1st and would run through the end of December. So you're looking at a total cost of about $30,000 against that $50,000 budget. The community center is closed on Sundays from Memorial Day through Labor Day, so you're not going to run into a ton of problems with Sunday rentals or events for most of this contract. There will be some additional after hours and Sunday charges in 2023, between April 2023 and December 2023. That amounted to like 85 hours of work, essentially. So you probably wouldn't see, they being JanPro is going to get us an hourly rate. But we don't anticipate that cost being more than $3,000 to $4,000. And the revenues we bring in for those after hours events would probably negate that amount. So Melanie Martino, our Parks and Rec Director, and J.R. Young, our Facilities Director, worked to get this quote. They're going to be at the meeting on the 27th. If there's any serious comments on sort of the logistics of this, they can answer them. But that's our recommendations, obviously going to be to approve that. JanPro does work in this building. They've been very good to work with. We're very happy with the quality of their work. So, yeah.
All right, any questions?
Just for context, Mahoney, who was our contracted cleaning service previously before they were not able to perform the job any longer, it was about $85,000 a year. So this amount really is still considerably below what we were paying at that time.
All right, thank you.
Just a context.
So, real quick, what's going to happen to the resources that are doing it now?
There will be a operational savings of probably in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $20,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Did that answer your question?
That it did.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, next item, please.
So the 2024 capital improvement program includes an allotment of $20,000 for a gazebo at the community park. I don't question the merits of this project. I think it'd be a very nice amenity in the community park. In talking with J.R. Young, though, he mentioned he did a small gazebo project at his former employer, that between the purchase of the gazebo and the site work to have it ready for the gazebo and actually look presentable was about $30,000 to $35,000. If we want to proceed with this gazebo, I think staff needs more time to develop a deliberate and planned approach with this project and present it for the next budget cycle. In the interim, the restroom and concession stand at the soccer complex does need some attention. It sees a lot of use from soccer games, but its proximity to the trail, and especially on Community Day, that's given where it is on the trail, it's used almost regularly now for anyone walking the trail. The roof is leaking, the bathroom fixtures and toilets are antiquated, the lighting needs updated. JR is actually going to have definitive quotes on this for the next council meeting. We believe we can remedy a good portion of these problems with the $20,000 we have set aside for the gazebo. So at the next meeting, we'll be looking for council to give us the go-ahead to reallocate this funding and authorize expenses from the capital improvement program for the soccer and restroom concession stand renovation. So, go ahead.
Did you have questions?
Oh, I was just trying to recollect the gazebo project. Yes, I hadn't heard that mentioned before.
It was originally Kevin Flannery's idea. He felt that if we had a gazebo outside the community center, we would do a better job of booking things like weddings.
Yeah. I'm just not certain what size gazebo and how good for $20,000. I'm just not certain we could probably get what we wanted. I mean, that's just, you know.
It would be interesting to see the plan. I typically
Mhm.
observe that gazebos look very nice, but don't often get used the way they were intended to. But, that's only my personal observation.
All right, any questions? All right, I guess you can take a break now unless Jim does want to have Ryan handle the next part.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll run with it, Ryan, if you don't mind. For you, at our next meeting, we'll be requesting the possible approval of change orders for the treatment plant reconstruction project. There are 5 change orders, excuse me, 4 of which are for improvements to the project as a whole, and the 5th is regarding credit coming back. If you've seen the numbers, if you had a chance to see them, it's actually a net gain for the township overall. The expenses are a little over $139,000 for the 4 change orders, but the credit exceeds over $154,000. So it's a net of almost $16,000 after the credit, and we're recommending approval for those change orders for the project.
Did anyone have any questions about any of the change orders? All right, anything else?
I also just wanted to mention, which is not on the agenda this evening, staff during regular routine maintenance work of our sanitary system discovered one of the sanitary lines along Macaulay Road had a serious breach in it. The line is actually broken in 2 segments, actually allowing a little bit of sewage water to actually leave the pipe. So we have worked quickly to get a lining company Inside Pipe to give us a quote and schedule an immediate repair, which will take place in here just a couple weeks to finally remedy that situation. This is something we weren't aware of until literally coming across it this week. Those funds will need to most likely either come out of our sanitary sewer capital fund or emergency sewer line maintenance fund. But either case, we have funds available to take care of the expenses.
Did anyone have any questions?
How much do you think that is approximately? Is it
The
5,000, 50,000?
The quote was $11,500 for the repair, and that includes bypass pumping and all those needs. We'll be working with our police department to close Macaulay Road for a short period of time to make that work happen. We're looking at the 28th, I believe, from 10 to 2. Thankfully, school's out of session that day, so it'll be a little less traffic on Macaulay.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Zoning and planning.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. We already discussed the Fry Kane application, so I'm just going to skip right by that. The 3036 Macaulay Road Simple Subdivision is a very minor application right across the street on Macaulay Road. This is the subdivision of one lot that's about 5 acres now, and then they would like to split it into 2 so that there's a rear building lot. So they do need a variance because the front lot, once they complete the subdivision as it's drawn out, would be a little bit less than an acre, which is, an acre is what's required in this zoning district. That's primarily due to the topography on this property, which drops off pretty steeply as you head down this way. So their variance hearing will be this month at the zoning hearing board, so I should have a decision for you by your next meeting. And all other engineering comments are pretty well wrapped up. Anything that's remaining from, there's a couple things from KLH and the Water Authority we can include as conditions of approval.
All right, any questions? Next item then, please.
Okey doke. The next item is the 3932 Route 8 change of use. Let me zap this around. So this is the former Route 8 barbecue that's right across from Duncan on Route 8 as you come out Duncan. And it was a restaurant for many years. It's been vacant for over a year, which is why they need to complete a change of use. The applicants are here tonight in case you have any questions. Frankly, this is a really great use for the property because they would like to convert it into a catering kitchen. So the biggest problem with this property has always been the parking and people exiting and entering onto Route 8. They have contracted with the Brazilian market that is also on Route 8 a little further north, and they would like to use this for their catering. So this would only have to serve employee parking maybe some loading, a couple deliveries, that sort of thing. So all of the requirements for buffering, parking, all of that are met or, not applicable. So this is, again, a pretty good use for this property, and I anticipate I'll be recommending approval in 2 weeks.
All right, anyone have any questions?
Just real quick, is this gonna be customer pickup or just strictly delivery from your location?
But this is Bilal Chatha, who is the applicant. If you would like to come up to the microphone, please, sir.
At this point, it's going to be strictly deliveries, so the site will be used to do mostly food preparation, and then complete the catering orders at different locations around the city. Kayla, who currently operates the Brazilian market, she has run a restaurant before in Highland Park, and she already has contracts with University of Pittsburgh and a few other locations around the city to provide catering services.
Thank you.
Just curious, so what kind of cuisine will be served, or what kind
It
of
will be
catering?
Brazilian cuisine.
It's Brazilian,
So
yeah.
Kayla runs the Mercuria on Route 8.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially a Brazilian grocery store.
Yeah.
And the restaurant she was operating was a Brazilian restaurant in Highland Park. One of the consequences of COVID, she had to shut down the restaurant. She didn't want to do retail work and just focus on catering. She was looking for a place closer to her current market, and that's why that's where her operations are going to be, to do catering services.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? All right, doesn't look like it, so you're free to go. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Yes, I actually do have one other item, just a bit of good news.
Please tell me that's what we think it is.
Is that Ojo's?
Yeah.
All right. All right, round of applause for Amanda.
I'll clap on that one too. This is the result of many years of hard work, much of it from Michelle Cromer with Vince's office, many different staff members on the township side. I got news that they were starting demolition this week. So they
Isn't
started
it like decades of
Oh,
hard
yeah.
work? I
It's
mean, we're not just
25
a couple years.
Yep.
It's like
We're
decades.
into 25.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's
Yeah.
It
amazing.
didn't take much to knock it down.
No, they're moving for sure. They have the whole front building down, so they were working on this. This is from today. I
Oh
drove
my
out.
God.
This
my
whole
goodness.
rubble was the whole front, so that's all down. You can see that he was working there now. This is the inside. It was all. It looks so different. It's all emptied out. You can see some of the asbestos abatement with the removal of the flooring and the ceiling. All the furniture is gone. So it is actually happening.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very
And
welcome.
please thank Michelle for us as well. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris Lochner said he's raising a glass from Arizona.
Good. I said Chris and Susan. They were both thrilled as well. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, other business.
Just the upcoming events, in particular the Easter egg hunt, which is next Saturday from 11 to 1. Susan's been furiously cooking cookies.
Baking.
Baking cookies.
Baking.
Baking cookies, my mistake.
All right, and I just want to point out Community Cleanup Day is coming up Saturday, April 6th, and personally, I think this is an absolutely wonderful event. People probably think I'm crazy, but you get to be outside, talking with your neighbors, making a tangible difference, and every year I have found something very cool. So you never know what you're going to find. All right, does anyone else have any other business? All right, then I will adjourn this evening's meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening.